Today's sermon by Judy Butler is titled Sheroes Now. Judy Butler, one of the original 14 members of this congregation, has assumed many roles over the years. Judy was our first membership chairperson. She's our gardening committee of one who has planted and maintained the back and side of this building that you are not sitting in. And Judy is a certified master gardener. She has also been on the board as member at large and is currently a member of the worship committee. Judy has always been available to help UUCC whenever it was needed. Please welcome a longtime UU feminist, Judy Butler. Thank you.
Well, good morning.
Morning.
Excuse me, I'm probably going to do a lot of throat clearing today. I've taken every possible spray and pill that I could this morning, so let's hope it holds. Several weeks ago, I presented some women from the past who I viewed as my sheroes. Today, I want to finish up by presenting some young women of today who I find totally amazing. When I think back to my youth in the 50s, I cannot remember one march for any cause. There were some when I got much older, but any formal discussion of, and no formal discussion of wrongs in our society. And I lived in a segregated community and went to a high school with no blacks allowed. The only place I heard talk about right or wrong was within my own home. And that was due to having moved from the north to the south. And we were trying to make some sense of it all. I do remember wearing my Mothers for Peace POW bracelet during the Vietnam War. But I guess my cause was tempered by the fact that I was working for the company that was busy building the A-7 attack aircraft that were being used to bomb Hanoi. I was very conflicted during this time as I had to support my family, but I detested the war. Think this crazy world of ours is spinning out of control and going nowhere fast? Check out the following young activists to restore your faith in humanity. Many people think that today's young people are only interested in what they look like in their umpteenth selfie taken on any given day, but nothing could be further from the truth. They're actually very switched on to current events and have some very worthwhile ideas to bring to the table. Let's discover the faces and stories behind 4 of them and what they're doing to make our world a better place. The first young lady I want to talk about is, I'm sure you're all familiar with Malala Yousafzai. Malala is a young woman from the beautiful mountains of Pakistan in the Swat Valley. Her hometown remained a popular tourist spot that was known for its summer festivals. The area began to change as the Taliban tried to take control. At the young age of 11, she began her campaign for the education of girls. The daughter of an outspoken father who had established and administered the school she attended, Kushai Girls High School and College in the city of Mingora. He encouraged her to follow in his path. She was inspired by her father's activism as a teacher and owner of a school for girls. So she began advocating publicly for girls' education. After the Taliban began attacking girls' schools in the Swat, she gave a speech in Peshawar, Pakistan in September 2008. The title of her talk was "How Dare the Taliban Take Away My Basic Right to Education." At age 15, she was attacked by the Taliban for speaking out. She was shot in the head at point-blank range while riding with other girls from her school. She was severely wounded and had to be airlifted out of Pakistan. Upon gaining her strength back, she started a blog for the BBC Urdu that would later help the world to learn the story of the attack on girls' education in Pakistan. How a walk to school, which once was a pleasure, had become a fear-filled sprint. Her father was forced to close his school for girls under threat of harm to the girls. After months of surgeries and rehabilitation, she said, "I joined my family in our new home in the United Kingdom. It was then I knew I had a choice. I could live a quiet life, or I could make the most of this new life I had been given. I determined to continue my fight until every girl could go to school." So with my father, who's always been my ally and inspiration, I established the Malala Fund, a charity dedicated to giving every girl an opportunity to achieve a future she chooses. In July 2015, with support from the Malala Fund, the fund invested heavily in girls' education in Pakistan. Using the Malala Fund, she also opened a girls' school in Lebanon for refugees from the Syrian civil war. In 2017, she received the title of UN Messenger of Peace to promote girls' education, a 2-year appointment giving to activists whose work has made an impact. The UN selects recipients carefully based on their future goals and past work. And the recipients engage closely with the United Nations leaders in an effort to make a change. In 2018, she became the youngest recipient at age 17 of the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of her efforts to see every child in Pakistan complete 12 years of free, safe, and quality education. After winning the Nobel Prize, Malala continued to attend school in England while using her enhanced public profile to bring attention to human rights issues around the world. In a virtual graduation ceremony this June, Malala graduated from Oxford University with a degree in philosophy, politics, and economics. Don't be defined by what you lose in this crisis, but by how you respond to it, she said to the millions graduating all around the globe. You have gained your education. Now it's time that you go out and use it for the betterment of the world. Congratulations to the class of 2020. I was especially pleased to hear one of our current scholarship winners, Ellie Kennedy, say that Malala is her special Shero. Here is a quote from Malala. "When the whole world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful." There's a picture, there it is, of Malala and Greta together. And I find this so inspiring. These two women are out to change the world. Our second young woman is Greta Tintin Eleonora Emmon Thunberg. What a name to live up to. And she has written a book called "No One is Too Small to Make a Difference." I know Sue Davis had a lovely talk about Greta when she discussed Asperger's a few weeks ago, but I'd like to concentrate on what this amazing young woman has done in her short time here on Earth. She speaks on behalf of future generations. She first took interest in the environment when she was 8. She was so concerned about the fate of the world that she started suffering from depression with selective mutations, OCD and Asperger's syndrome. She's related to the Nobel Prize winning chemist Arrhenius, the man who first predicted Earth's climate would be damaged by the greenhouse effect. In August 2018, she decided not to go to school one day, starting a strike for climate change outside the Swedish parliament. The iconic image of Greta Thunberg is that picture of a schoolgirl with pigtails protesting alone outside the Swedish parliament. And I'm going to try this in Swedish. Her skull stretched for klimatet poster by her side. And I apologize to any natural Swedish speaking person. Once again, she doesn't feel the lonely vigil was something she actively chose. She said she tried working with other people, joining existing organizations, but it didn't go well. I was too bad at socializing. I just hated making small talk and constantly being around so many people. So she decided to do something by herself and came up with the school strike idea, unwittingly creating what has become a global brand. Her efforts ended up sparking a global movement for action against the climate crisis, inspiring millions of pupils to go on strike for our planet. She said, "I have a dream that the people in power, as well as the media, start treating this crisis like the existential emergency it is. I want you to panic. I want you to act like your house was on fire." She has recently received the Right Livelihood Award, which is known as the Alternative Nobel, and will use the $100,000 prize to establish the Greta Thunberg Foundation in Sweden as a nonprofit organization to promote ecological and social sustainability. She is establishing a foundation to handle the money she gets from book royalties, donations, and prizes. She has again been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Although the world's eyes were already on Greta, her speech on September 21st, 2019, at the United Nations Climate Action Summit brought headline news. Speaking before leaders, lawmakers, and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, she lambasted them with one of her most indignant speeches. "You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering, people are dying, entire ecosystems are collapsing," she said. "We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?" In addition to her environmental work, Thunberg was credited with raising awareness about Asperger and inspiring those who had the disorder. While acknowledging that Asperger had hampered her in some ways, she also noted its advantages. At one point tweeting, "I have Asperger's, and that means I'm sometimes a bit different from the norm. And given the right circumstances, being different is a superpower." And my third choice for my Sheroes now is Emma Gonzalez. After a former student showed up at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, with an assault weapon on February 14th, 2018, killing 17 students and staff and injuring 17 others, survivors such as Emma Gonzalez immediately sprung to action. In the wake of the shooting, Gonzalez and her fellow friends and students helped ignite a conversation about gun violence, and in the following month launched the largest youth movement against gun violence that's ever existed. In March of 2018, Gonzalez kicked off March of Our Lives, a countrywide rally that captured the streets of major cities across the US in a bone-chilling 6-minute and 20-second speech, most of which was complete silence, to make people around the world understand the excruciating feeling she and her friends felt during the time it took for the shooter to terrorize her school. In total, the speech with silence was the same length of time it took him to shoot up the school. 6 minutes and 20 seconds, she began her speech. Gonzalez then named those who were killed that day in a tone of anguish and went on to say, "My friend Carmen will never complain to me about piano practice." She continued saying names until her speech came to an abrupt halt, and she stood in silence for the remainder of the 6 minutes and 20 seconds, tears streaming down her face. At the end of the speech, she pleaded for us all to fight for our lives before it's someone else's job. Approximately 200,000 people attended the rally in total. This Cuban bisexual powerhouse, who's unapologetically loud about her identities and standing up for marginalized at-risk people, continues to frequently organize in her community and uses social media to rally people to use their voices and privilege to make a difference. In recent days, she's even launched a March for Our Lives zine. I think in young people talk, that's some kind of a magazine, but I don't know. It is titled Unquiet, about continuing to use your voice for the greater good. On the 2-year anniversary of the first March for Our Lives, started by students who survived the Parkland shooting in 2018, young activists like Emma Gonzalez are still doing the difficult work. March for Our Lives and Gonzalez herself both have extreme global impact on conversations surrounding gun control and mass shootings, disrupting the notion that we'd never make progress in pushing political leaders to take it more seriously. Even 2 years later, Gonzalez continues to tout the messaging of March for Our Lives and protest the lives of other young people above all else. If you are in a position of power, you need to aim to make the world a better place for everyone living here, not just yourself and your donors, she told Time magazine. Gonzalez continues to act in the greater interest of her community by organizing for causes and instigating change among local leadership. So what is Emma doing since she started a revolution? The young activist whose organizing work and voice has been an immeasurable service to the world has an incomparable ability to help the world understand the deep grief and consequences caused by gun violence. Since she graduated from high school in 2018, she's since gone on to become a student at New College of Florida. In 2020, she's urging people to turn up at the polls and make a difference in their communities and country at large, using their voice and votes as power. And there she is, casting her first vote, an important milestone in any young person's life. But new generations of anti-gun violence leaders are continually stepping in. After the Parkland shooting, following Emma Gonzalez's example, I organized my school's walkout and then founded my school's Students Demand Action Group. Alana Miller, a member of the Students Dem and Action National Advisory Board, said, 2 years later, I'm a college freshman, and the group at my high school is still growing, and I've started a group at my college too. There are now nearly 400 students demand action groups across the country, including high school groups, college groups, and community groups. 2019 was a huge year for us. We saw the House of Representatives pass gun safety legislation for the first time in over a decade. And states across the country passed stronger gun laws. 2020 is sure to be even bigger as we turn our focus to electing gun sense champions up and down the ballot. There's no doubt that young people are sick and tired of so-called leaders who refuse to act to keep us safe from gun violence, and we're ready to vote them out of office. My last young lady, and I do mean young lady, is Xochitl Guadalupe Cruz Lopez, another young lady with a very long name. This is a young woman that I find fascinating. She's only 8 years old and is from Chiapas, Mexico. and she has invented a solar-powered water heater out of recycled materials. She was inspired to do this by the desire to reduce deforestation and pollution by replacing the need to cut logs for heating water. That is the primary method used in her part of the world. She said she was also inspired to invent the solar water heater because of the cold climate in her hometown. In San Cristobal, it's very cold most of the year. So if people shower with cold water, they can get sick with respiratory illnesses and constantly have to go to the doctor, she said. A veteran at 8 of science projects, she's been competing in science fairs since she was 4. So she set about putting her knowledge and ingenuity to work, using only discarded materials like bottles, wood, and plastic. She crafted a heating device that runs on a free and readily available energy source, the sun. There she is with her device. Her device not only functions to provide hot water to low-income families, excuse me, in her community, it also saves trees. Soshi's solar heater contains a 15-meter black hose, 10 PET bottles that she painted black, plastic cable ties, a wood base, black nylon, and recycled glass. Soshi says she used the glass doors of a broken cooler to create a greenhouse effect. The solar heater is installed on her home's rooftop. Soshi's family helped her set up the device on their roof and have been using it to heat water to bathe. Soshi says she always bathes quickly though, so the hot water will last for my little brother. She got to know the PAUTA program. It's an Adopt a Talent program when she was very young and immediately loved it. Through this program, she was able to start developing her own science projects and presenting them in state and national competitions. Her first project was Soshi's Essence, where she set up a home lab to extract flower essences. With this project, she got the first place at the Pauta State Fair, as well as a chance to meet the program's founders. For her second project, Soshi wanted it to have a social impact. For this reason, she created the water heater with recycled material in order to help low-income people as well as the environment, and she named it Warm Bath. With this project, she won first place statewide. Now remember, she's only 8, granting her the chance to participate at the National Fair, where she also got first place. Additionally, she got the Scientific Woman Award from the UNAM Nuclear Sciences Institute for showing outstanding scientific outreach. With this same project, she obtained the Outstanding Project Award at the National Science Fair in La Paz, Baja California. Baja California Sur. I guess that means it's still in Mexico. Excuse my geographic. Her next goal is to take her project into a third phase, which consists on putting the prototype inside the homes of indigenous communities in Chiapas. In between her brilliant innovations, Soshi loves soccer and mathematics and plans to gain her doctorate in the latter. If this is what Soshi is doing at 8, we can only imagine what the future holds. To know that there are young women in our world today that are confronting the problems that affect us is a comforting thought. Now, don't you feel as I do that I've been wasting my time on silly things? I have to ask, when an 8-year-old can do this, what could I have done? However, I believe we are experiencing a values revolution. Increasingly, young people want to make the world a better place through their lifestyle, their careers, and the products they buy. It has been stated that 70% of young people want to find a career that changes the world for the better. Meanwhile, Ethics as a motivation for buying things has risen 26% since 2008, and 84% of millennials consider it as their duty to improve the world. Millennials are not alone in their desire to change the world. However, I believe the following are ways in which this change in values differs today from the youthful optimism of previous generations. Young people feel empowered in a digitally connected and open world. Millennials have more tools to drive change than ever before. They can access, share, and distribute information around the world for free, providing ample opportunities to promote social causes and hold institutions to account. Finally, there is a feeling among young people that doing good should be integrated into everything to do with their daily lives, from the companies they work for to the products they purchase and the organizations they donate time and money or clicks to. I would like to dedicate this talk I've given today to, and I think they call them the Generation Zs. These are the people that are now very young. And I want to dedicate this talk to Harley, my 4-year-old granddaughter, to Jan Kallner's granddaughters, Chloe and River, to Andy Fagan's soon-to-be-here little granddaughter, to Susan Landau's granddaughters, Hero, Juniper, and Lydia, and to my great nieces, Kate, Gracie, Emma, and Eleanor, and for all the other little girls out there who will benefit from the actions of these current Sheroes long after we're gone, and who I hope will have the courage to stand up for what they believe. Thank you.